LSD and all that kind of stuff, is that the trip is incredible, but then like you don't know. To me, it's like they put you in such a crazy spot sometimes that I'm like, it's kind of a deterrent to take it again.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's like a once a year or once every couple of years kind of thing.
It's not something that you like, are all fired up to like do all the time. So yeah, I threw what's in here is a steak shake. It's our total carnivore steak shake, and then there's also rice and grinds in here, which is a sponsor of ours. It's just basically organic rice, and I just sort of mixed everything together, and we'll just dump it into the bowl here.
The steak shake is it's like no dairy, right?
Yeah, the total carnivore steak shake has it has no dairy, it has no whey and no egg. I took out just any allergen that someone has, so just pouring like enough water to where when you start to stir it, it's a little bit like oatmeal, I guess you'd say. It doesn't have that same thickness as oatmeal because it's rice cereal.
Ah, okay.
But it's flavored rice cereal, so this one's peanut butter, and so we just mixed it with total carnivore chocolate.
Do you eat this every day?
I eat this quite a bit on days where I'm going to run and lift because I have to lift later today.
Yeah.
So I ran this morning with fucking Jeremy, who's 26, and I lift tonight with a kid that's 22.
Who are you lifting with later?
Kenny. You probably met Kenny, right?
Yeah, I met him yesterday.
Fucking big as a house, right?
Yeah, he's huge.
Looks like he's wearing shoulder pads under his... Probably just a little bit more water. Kaboom. And I'll throw that baby in the microwave. There we go. Whoa. Well, I guess that works. Be in there for about 2 minutes. But this is the product, rice and grinds. And this is the exact one I used, creamy peanut butter. This is my favorite one. Here's the stats on the back. This is organic rice. I don't know, it's just an easy way to get carbs in. I don't have this every day. I have it mainly on days when I'm going to run and lift. And so for me today, this is post-run. Just ran 7 miles with Ryan, or with Jeremy. Just ran 7 miles with Jeremy, and I'm going to lift later tonight. And so I kind of want some carbs floating around in my system, especially for that workout. I probably really won't eat any other carbs today. Maybe when I get home, I have some like blueberries or something like that to try to fuel up for the lifting session later today. But I find that rice and grinds is just super convenient, something that's real easy on the stomach. I'm not a fan of oatmeal. I've never liked it. Don't like the taste of it. I really don't dig it unless I throw a bunch of like brown sugar in there or something like that. So I find the rice cereal to be a little bit more convenient and a little easier. And then this company, they also make these guys. They also make like almond butters and a bunch of other stuff. But I try not to mess around with that because I'm a fat kid and I'm gonna like have way too much of it. So I gotta behave. What's your favorite food?
Oh, I'm a big sushi guy. Or sushi or
I love sushi.
Steak and eggs. Steak and eggs. I could eat that every day.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so good. Just a nice big ribeye.
I had some incredible sushi when I was in LA. And LA, everything's like so crazy, like priced or whatever. I wasn't even looking. I was just like ordering stuff. And it was just me. It was just by myself. It was just like a late lunch. And it was like $220.
It's all fresh fish, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, if it's fresh, that's the best.
But it was expensive. Woo, it's hot. Hot, hot, hot. There you go, mix her up.
Thank you.
It should be good like that, but you might have to mix it up for a minute and let it cool off.
It smells good. So it sounds like you say pretty low carb for the most part. Depends on how you define low carb, but
yeah, I would say on a higher day I might have maybe like 200, 250 maybe. There's a banana too if you want. You can kind of put it in there, or you can eat it whatever way you want. But yeah, like if it's summertime and like I'm eating a little bit more fruit and stuff, and then sometimes post run I might have like a poke bowl, and then like that's got like 100 something grams of rice or 100 grams of carbs from rice in it or something. So The carbs can get up there a little bit here and there, but for the most part, they're probably like, on some days in the winter, I don't eat any of them because I just don't feel like it.
Yeah.
I just notice that I don't really care about them that much. So I might eat like a handful of berries or something. Or,
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the seasons kind of dictate training, diet. Yeah, I think definitely being in tune with that. There's something to it.
Yeah.
I feel like I have less energy to run in the winter. Like I'd rather just lift, get a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. And in the summer, that's when I want to be outside, run more.
I have noticed that because I'm so used to being like lower carb, I've been doing it for so long, that sometimes I'm on a run, and I'm like, this run fucking sucks today. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, you probably haven't really eaten much carbs in the last like 2-3 days, you know?
Yeah.
And so they do definitely help the run be easier.
Do you ever do anything over like 90 minutes where you'd probably need to take gels? Needing to start taking gels?
I don't really know. I don't notice. I just, something that happens to me when I'm running is that my legs will just get like numb. I don't know if you ever experienced that when you're going like 50 miles or something, when you're going really far. My legs just sort of go numb, and they're just like,
Yeah.
And now it happens further out for me. So that used to happen at like 3 miles,
Right.
And then now it happens more like at like mile 15 or something like that, somewhere
Right.
in there.
I know that feeling you're talking about. It's like it's numb.
Like numb / stiff.
Yeah. They kind of feel like bricks almost. Like
Yeah.
It's probably something with like lactic acid, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Starts building up in there. Fatigue.
It might be a little salty because I threw electrolytes in there too, chocolate electrolytes. But it should be pretty good. I might have made mine still soupy. Gotta let it sit for a minute.
What is rice cereal? Is it just rice, like ground up, essentially?
Yeah, this guy from this company, he gets organic rice that's local. I forget exactly where he lives, but he's all in like getting it from like a farm that he knows and all that shit,
What is the deal with the Piedmontese beef? Is that just the name of the brand?
It's a type of cattle.
Oh, okay.
And the Piedmontese, certified Piedmontese brand, I believe it's the only company in the country that has rights to that cattle, however that works.
Right.
I don't really know how that works, but
What's the benefit of that type of beef?
the cows are just super lean. So all the cuts,
okay.
every cut of steak is at least half the amount of fat.
Really?
So people are like, oh man, you got to kind of worry sometimes about the saturated fat, which I agree with. I think to a certain extent you do, especially if you're eating a lot of other food, or especially like if you're having a hard time staying like at maintenance or caloric deficit. I think there's definitely can be a concern with how much saturated fat and cholesterol and stuff you're getting, but from Piedmontese cattle, like I get grass-fed, grass-finished fillets from them, and it's like 2 grams of fat per serving. So it's like there might be 4 grams of fat in the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's as lean, or sometimes even leaner than chicken.
That's crazy.
It was wild.
I've heard
it tastes like beef, and it's really good. It's tender.
Interesting. I've heard a lot of mixed things about saturated fat and like the LDL cholesterol.
Yeah, I think LDL has gotten deemed as being like the bad cholesterol.
Right.
But how could that be? Like, why would your body? Just think about it realistically. Like imagine it's like, oh, that's the bad kind of blood pressure. It's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Or it's like you have the bad kind of red blood cells or whatever. I mean, like, why would your body naturally make something that's bad for you, or not even necessarily make it, but just in that case, LDL cholesterol, it doesn't make sense. It's like, I think the LDL cholesterol is to balance out your HDL cholesterol, and everything the body does, I think, is for a reason.
Yeah.
And I think trying to get to the root cause of stuff is hard. especially in the United States. But I think that I think people's cholesterol could be controlled a lot easier just by going outside.
Yeah.
Because the sun will sulfate cholesterol on your skin, and it actually will help you produce more vitamin D. And so people are like vitamin D deficient, and then people have cholesterol issues. And then taking things that block or lower cholesterol, I think, is probably not a great route. It probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense because you need cholesterol. Like cholesterol is a really essential hormone for the body. It's important. And so I think, by trying to block it with a pill, I don't think makes sense. I don't think necessarily like blasting like vitamin D and stuff like that makes sense. I think you got to try to obtain this stuff the way that it was meant to be obtained. And so I think getting outside is like, one of the huge factors.
Yeah.
I think somebody that has like really shitty cholesterol levels should work on getting outside more, get some more sunlight, and try to get away from like blue light a little bit more.
What would you deem as shitty cholesterol? Like if it's too high?
That's a great question. Because they say that half the people that have heart attacks have high cholesterol, and the other half have low cholesterol. So it's like you can't associate it with anything.
Yeah, the reason I ask, my LDL was the last blood work I did. It was flagged as high. It was like 100. It was just over 100, I think, and it said
Microwave is a little bit longer.
This test said anything basically 0 to 100 was like okay.
Right.
And I eat a lot of red meat. I drink a lot of milk, a lot of things with saturated fat. And that's probably the number one way to increase your LDL.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I know is LDL is only bad if it's paired with another metabolically unhealthy trait, and everything else metabolically was perfect. So
yeah, your triglycerides and stuff.
Yeah, everything was great.
Yeah.
So
then there's other things you can test. So you can get your ApoB tested.
Yeah, that was good for me. Yeah, I got that tested. I talked with Pete about this quite a bit. He's obsessed with blood work.
Yeah, it's almost nearly impossible for you to be unhealthy, for you to personally to be unhealthy, unless you have. I mean, there's weird shit that happens to people all the time.
Right.
That people that look healthy, but if it looks right, it probably is right, And your waist circumference, in relation to like your height. You say your waist circumference should be half your height in inches. And it's like there's no way that yours isn't like, you know what I mean? Right. It's like it's definitely less than that. So, and again, we can't tell everything from an exterior. Like who knows? You might have genetic predisposition for X, Y, or Z. But blood work is interesting too. I don't know what to think of it.
Why is that?
Well, I just think it's new. It's still a new practice,
Like the interpretation of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a lot of that stuff is just still kind of new, and I don't know, it makes me wonder, that's like, what are you going to do to like counteract something? So if you learn something about your blood, and then it's like, maybe those measures aren't a great idea, because like I guess, why did your body decide to do what it's doing? Why did your body make a decision to lower your testosterone levels? What was the reason? Is it because you don't sleep well, or is it because you don't eat well? And if you are doing those things, then maybe that's a good opportunity to look into like, maybe I should get some TRT or something like that. But to start there, I don't think makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I just got blood work done for the first time. That was like 2 or 3 months ago. Mm-hmm. It was just more for the fact of like trying to get a baseline for things. Right. Because I'd never done it before, so I didn't have any issues or everything felt good. But everything was like pretty healthy. The only thing that was, one was the LDL, and then the other was like my FSH was low. It was almost like 0, which I think could be like infertility potentially. So I just got it retested last week. I haven't gotten the results, but I'm hoping that FSH, I don't know if I want to have kids, but it'd be nice to have the option if I wanted to. Mm-hmm. So I want to see if that changed at all. If it was just maybe like a fluke in the first test or something, but yeah. Pete seems to be obsessed with blood
Oh
work.
yeah, he knows
He's
a
all
lot
about
about it. Yeah, he knows a lot about it too. Well, he's a good example of like look, him following his blood work and him learning the interpretation of it's worked really well for him.
Yeah.
Because he's way healthier now.
Oh yeah, he said running. Obviously, getting off steroids was huge, but he said running seemed to be one of the biggest things. Because he still eats like just junk food, like nachos and hot dogs and stuff.
Yeah. He's kind of naturally like a thin guy. Even when he was taking stuff, he was just he was never fat. He just got like jacked.
Yeah.
He just had a huge neck. I remember his neck was like, just massive.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a tank. I've never met him in person. He's actually doing the same 100-miler that I'm doing in June.
He picked up running like, I mean, he just.
Yeah, he ran a sub 140 half marathon not long ago.
Yeah, he's a madman.
Yeah, and he's still repping out 500 plus pound deadlifts.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he had maybe like a little bit of running background when he was young or something, but still, he just switched straight into it.
Yeah.
I do remember talking to him in the beginning. I'm like, because I got into it like a little bit before he did, and I was telling him like you're doing great with your times, but you're going to get hurt, you know. And we would have conversations. He's like, I feel really good. I was like, all the information I see, like it's similar to lifting. It's like you gotta back off. You need your percentages more here and stuff. And
he's nursing a stress fracture right now, so so I think you predicted that pretty spot on.
Yeah, and he told me he's run into some different things, and I showed him some stuff in the gym, and like just myofascial release stuff, like on his calves and stuff. And he's like, "Why the fuck does that hurt so bad?" I was like, "Your tissue shouldn't be like that. That's why."
Yeah, he seems like he just gets after it. Like
he's a maniac.
Well, once he picks something, he's just all in. 100%.
Super great guy, nice guy.
Yeah, he's super genuine.
Those old school videos of him lifting with the
in the basement
washing machine in the background.
Yeah, he pulled what, like a 900 and some pound, 920 deadlift.
Yeah, he was insane. Still the best squat I've ever seen. He squatted like, I think it was 666 that he squatted in a meet. And the reason why it was the best squat I've ever seen is because his opening attempt was 633, and it was a horrible lift, or 622 I think it was. Yeah, it was 622, and it was just a shitty lift. Like it was just, his form sucked. The lift was kind of slow, and I was like, that was kind of shitty. And then he went to like 640 or something like that. That one was even worse. And I was like, okay, any person with half a brain is they're gonna not take their third attempt because he's gonna get ready for bench, you know. And I was like, clearly that's like his max, you know. And he goes out and he does 666, and it's even worse than the first two. And I was like, this guy's gonna die. Like, this guy is fucking crazy. And he still finished the meet and still ended up with a big deadlift that day.
That's crazy. Yeah, he's such a good dude. He's obsessed with running. He was just texting me yesterday.
He's been a big fan of yours for a long time. He's the one that told me about you.
Yeah, we text quite a bit about running and stuff. Because he lives in Chattanooga, Tennessee, I think, right? Yeah, so he's trying to figure out how to train for this mountainous 100-miler that we're doing. When he's not real close to mountains. So I think he's been spending a lot of time on the treadmill. He got one of those hypoxico masks for the oxygen debt training.
What does that do?
He said that it didn't reflect anything in his blood work, but it's supposed to increase your red blood cell count because you're training,
right?
It's like simulating being at high altitude.
Is it giving you like carbon, or is it like
giving you CO2? I think it just restricts your oxygen.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he did it for a couple of months consistently, and he said his red blood cell count didn't change at all in his blood work. So he's kind of bummed about that, but yeah, sure, there's just not a lot you can do. I think you could maybe sleep in one of those chambers. It'd probably be more of a benefit, but
yeah,
maybe just the amount of training.
That's what EPO does, right? Or EPO.
Yeah, same thing. That's like all the Kenyan marathoners. They all live in Nigeria up in the mountains at like 10,000 feet. Or why the Olympians train at Colorado Springs at a mile high.
Yeah. The Kenyans also get popped too here and there.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them are on stuff, unfortunately.
That's interesting, you know, because like I think, I don't know, you just think it's cultural with them because you see them all running together,
Right.
and running in the mountains and stuff. So you're thinking, oh, like holy fuck, these guys.
Right.
But then yeah, you see some of them get banned for life and stuff for taking
Yeah.
EPO.
There's definitely something to it. Like a lot of them they grew up as like farmers or like they're just super active. A lot of them I know they have to run like 10 miles to school every day.
I think it's like a little bit like the Rich Froning thing. Like Rich Froning was just always active.
Yeah.
He was so hyper active, doing so many different things.
Yeah, I think lifestyle I think it's the number one factor for fitness and
Like
health.
I don't think he really like grew up on like a farm or ranch necessarily, but it seemed like as a little kid, it seemed like he was just stories I hear of him just like always being super active, always like running, and then
Right.
even as a CrossFitter preparing for the games, all the other CrossFitters said anytime they travel, he'd be like, "Hey, where's the gym? Like, when are we going to
Yeah.
go train?"
Yeah.
And then he would go and like lift for like an hour, and then he would be like, "Let's go eat." 2 hours later, he'd be like, "Oh, we're gonna train again. Like, let's go train. Let's
Yeah.
go do this." You know, it's wild, but
Yeah. Yeah, I think even like for me, I played hockey and every weekend almost we'd have like 2 games a day, Friday, Saturday, 1 or 2 games on Sunday. And I think that doing that for so many years helped so much now with running, like doing 2 workouts a day, you know, get up, go for a long run in the morning, go lift in the afternoon. Like it doesn't seem strenuous to
Right.
get in like 2 hours of exercise every day.
I mean, more recently, when I was running, maybe like as of like a year ago, I started to do like the run every day thing, and that felt really good. And then I backed off of it, and just started running like every other day. But more recently, I'm like, when I'm on a walk, if I feel like just running a little bit, why not just run? So I'm kind of back to running every day, but it's not. I can't really. I'm not really counting it as like running because it's not. It doesn't always add up to be like what we just did.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like 7 miles. You know, it might be 3 miles, and it might be like a walk jog. But the weather is great. It's not 5,000 degrees out. I don't have to worry about like the sun kicking my ass too much for the day. So if I'm out and I'm just listening to a podcast and I'm walking and my feet and ankles and calves and body feels good, you know, one person might look at that as like overtraining, but it's like, if it feels good enough for me, like why not?
Yeah.
You know, and if I do start to run, I've had this happen a bunch of times where I just feel heavy, and I'm like, no, I'm not just not going to do it. You know,
Yeah.
like what's the big deal?
Yeah. Yeah, I think training off of feel, that's the number one thing you can do. I mean, it's how humans have performed forever, like
Right.
for all of human existence.
That's what I think about. Like when I think about the blood work stuff, it's like, you know, I think we got along fine without blood work. I
Right.
think we got along fine without, you know, going to all these doctors for everything all the time. You know.
Yeah, more data is not necessarily good.
It's just-
That was good. I usually don't eat a whole lot in the mornings,
Oh, it's all
but
good.
it did taste good.